Hi, welcome to Tension Tamers, Effective Stress Management. We are honored today to have Lisa Schoelen with us. She is a graduate student, second-year graduate student in the counseling program. She is currently doing her internship with the University Counseling Center, and best of all, she is an elite cohort member. So with that said, let's welcome Lisa.
Thank you, and I want to thank Elite for having me present this. Julie is correct. She was sharing earlier that having to kind of stop and do this was my own stress management reminder of what I need to have in place in my life as well. So we'll go ahead and get started so that we can all find our zen in this hour. The first thing what I wanted to do was just basically talk about stress management, but I knew I would be talking to a group of people that understands enough about stress management that we don't have to go through all the logistics of what is stress, what causes stress, all those things. We're all well aware, but I did want to do a little bit of talking through it just because it's like everybody knows what it is, but nobody knows what stress is. And it's the same thing with stress management. We all know in theory, but putting it into practice, identifying those stressors when they happen, that's kind of really, I think, what we're talking about when we talk about stress management and employing the strategies for that. So I thought that clip art was kind of appropriate. Like, we think it's stress. We kind of know what are the things that start getting us stressed out. We know the things maybe that we've heard that are positive and negative coping for stresses, but really just to kind of back up and briefly talk about it a little bit to get to the point of understanding really why the things that we can do, the tension tamers that can help us find our zen, that can get us centered, that can get us able to manage our stress, how that all works together. So we're all familiar with the effects, and I think for individually for yourselves, you can find that place on this this picture where for you that manifests the most. When you start getting stressed with whatever causes it the most in your life, if we're all grad students or students at the university, it's workloads mixed with school loads, with family demands. But for each person it manifests in different ways. So you can probably see on there where for you it might manifest. Some people it becomes negativity, indecision, procrastination. I know for me I hold the tension in my shoulders. I see some of you nodding your heads. So irritability, when you're driving in traffic and you need to get where you're going. So you can definitely see where it manifests for each of us. And then of course we all know the different things, when we're evaluating our stress. Like I said, it's like we know what it is, but we don't. We know that it's the stress, and it's some of these things from the picture. It's the looming midterm exam. Different, maybe for younger people it's peer pressure, but even in our classes sometimes there's that. Are they our colleagues, or are they kind of competition? Do we share information? All of those things kind of play into our job stresses. So of course we get that it's the environment demands, but even it's easy to forget the physiological, that it, for adolescents they're going through a growth spurt. That's a stressor on their body that plays into overall. For us, how much we can exercise, the nutrition, our sleep, if we're ill, we know that all plays into it, but a lot of it's, do we have the time to stop and recognize that and remember, and then how we can do the things that help with those areas. And then of course the third area is just our stress that's related from the psychological and just our thoughts, just the way that we label a situation. And those are the things that they happen so many times in a day that we almost forget to realize. That's why I was saying, I think it's stress. What is it? It's all those little things that we don't even have the time to stop and pay attention to that we're labeling. For instance, one example, your boss gives you a sour look. You take it in, okay, and you keep moving. But your body, you had a physiological response maybe, you had a psychological label that you attached to it, and that's just like another little rock that adds to all the other stress that we might be able to more easily identify. So I think it's interesting to remember that it is all of those components. And then of course over time, our chronic stress, all those different demands that maybe some were able to label, some were not able to, or that we're able to see right off the hand, and other ones we're realizing that things are happening around us and that we're labeling. For instance, if you're about to take an exam and it's difficult for you, it's stressing you out, but it's really that you're labeling the experience. I'm overwhelmed, or I don't know the material. So just recognizing that part of it is also important. But really to just then back up and realize that the chronic stress, your brain is not recognizing the difference between real or perceived. And so we've all, talked about and maybe heard about this, the fight or flight, response that happens in our body and the stress response that happens in us. But our brain's not perceiving that which is real danger, like, our ancestors running from a mountain lion, that real danger that activates everything, and the perceived danger that something's difficult, or my boss just scowled at me, what does that mean? But our body's perceiving it that it's all real, even though it might not be all physically real. And then of course with the stress response, we're all, this vague what we're talking about as far as what is stress management. We've all seen the curve, we all understand a good amount of stress, is good, planning a wedding, things that are exciting, planning a vacation, but that tipping point where I think when we all say, I'm stressed, we're talking about over on that right side, the fatigue, the exhaustion, when our performance starts going down. And so what is this area right here, this stress management that actually can increase our performance? So I want to just give you guys all accolades for being here, that you guys are doing something to try to help improve or keep your performance going in the face of this possible curve. So, just to briefly talk about chronic stress, like I said, I know that we all know this, but just to remember that when we're in that moment and something's happening, whether we're labeling it, whether there really is somebody, traffic, something's happening, that adrenal dump that happens inside and all the stress hormones that are activated and released, it's just like a chemical dumping that happens in our body. And that's really good in the short term. It helps a woman go through labor. It helps us fight off or run from something, a dog chasing us, whatever it is, it's good in the short term. The nervous system response, it gets our heart rate up, it gets our breathing rate up. Our muscles, all the blood flows to our larger muscles so we can run. It takes the blood away from our metabolism and raises our blood pressure, all those things so that our body can respond. But of course we all know over time that has negative consequences. The important body functions start shutting down that help, so for instance our metabolism starts not being as functional. So if we're always stressed and we're having a hard time maintaining our weight, we can see how that plays in. And then of course over the long haul, even disease. But for instance, muscle tension, it's as easy as if all our blood flow is being pulled to these big, large muscle groups from perceived stress, and it's not even physical stress, it's what does my boss think, what does this test, can I manage this test, then our muscles, it's no wonder that our muscles are even tense, because all that blood flow is going there and it's ready to do something, and then we're not actually using the physical sense. And so being able to counteract all of this happening inside us is where I'm kind of going with all of this. Kind of just talked about all the things. I just thought that was interesting to put that up there and really kind of see how you can have with your stomach, weight gain, muscle and joint pain, inflammation, all those things that we know and we might even be able to identify right now. That might have been a reason that you're here. So to get to my, not to be doom and gloom, the good news is that we can counteract all that by very simple ways. Just as much as our reaction signals the brain to be in fight or flight and do that chemical dump, we can signal our brain to cease that stress response by what's called the relaxation response. And there's several ways to do that. And it's basically using your mind to change your physiology. And of course, it improves your health over time and it reduces the need for medications. And then your digestion, of course, is going to improve. All the things that are physically going to help, but then you're just going to feel better. You're going to feel like you can face your demands. So a couple things that I wanted to just talk about today is that when we can minimize that no danger signal that's going on inside us, and kind of counteract those chemical reactions that are going on, your brain is no longer getting that message and it counterbalances, and so your nervous system now can do the opposite, and we can do that with really simple things. So a couple of things that we're going to do today that we'll go over. These are some of the there's a whole long list of things we can do, but these are the few I thought that I could give you a lot of little snippets so that you have more than maybe just one to go off of today. And there's even like I said, more I haven't listed. So we're just going to do a couple of these today, and That way you feel like you have some tools that you can use. I think one big thing about talking about stress management strategies is a lot of times we literally think, I don't have time. You know, some people think, yeah, I've heard about breathing and I've heard about doing these different things, but I don't have time to stop and do them. And I think when you actually stop and do actually initiate those into your life, you recognize how little time it does take and how much it actually gives you in the long run, because it gives you sustained energy, it gives you motivation, determination, and all the things that help you get through the stressors around us. So I also want to mention some of these. I know it's the end of the day, so you guys are actually going to be getting relaxed, which might be the opposite of the mode you're always living in. Go, 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 especially if a lot of you have evening classes you're used to having to just keep plugging through for the next couple hours. So I know what might tend to happen right now is when we do some of these, you might start to feel like you're dozing off. Uh-oh, does she not think I'm awake or paying attention? And just recognize that that is okay. That really is your body letting itself let go and relax. And everything we just talked about is wonderful. You're going to help negate any of the the chemical overload of adrenaline and cortisol and all of that might have been happening today and chronically. So go with it, and if you completely pass out and 30 minutes later we have to wake you up, then bravo to you. That means that either I did a really good job of getting you relaxed and you're working your stress management. So we're going to start with one, body awareness, and there's plenty of ways to do different body awareness. This is one that I hadn't seen done as much, even in our stress management class. I don't remember it as much. And so it's really just getting us aware of everything going on around us, which I know sounds silly when I first say that. We're all always aware of what's going on around us. We're aware of what time of day it is, where you have to be, all the traffic, how much is in our bank account, what the weather's like, so we know what to wear. So yes, we're always very aware of what's going on around us, but yet we're kind of not. It's like, where are we in the place of that? So noticing our internal and external awareness. So first, I just want you guys to focus around you externally, and you can keep your eyes open and just kind of start making some statements to yourself about what the lighting is. So it's kind of dimly lit, you might say to yourself, or what's the temperature that you feel right now around you? Are you warm, cool? Do you feel the air on you? What you see around you, if you're noticing the light coming in from the side windows. You're sitting in a room, where you're at in the placement of this room, if you chose to sit up front or in the back. So just kind of focus on that for a minute and kind of orient yourself where we're at, where this room is in the university center, all of that around us. Even some of the colors that you see right now. And this might even seem like at first that this isn't stress management, but this is actually taking a moment to not maybe replay everything else that might be playing in your mind, and you're just identifying. So it really even is giving your brain a chance to just observe. So now we're going to shift our attention to your body and your physical sensations. So now this might be one where you want to close your eyes. So we've just observed everything around us in the physical sense, but now you're going to feel, do you feel warm? Do you feel your stomach gurgling? Is your mouth dry? Do you feel the air coming in from your breath? Do you feel tension anywhere in your body? Do you have a cramp in your foot? What are the parts of your body that you feel like you feel more? Maybe what are the parts of your body that you have to actually think about to feel them? Can you feel your toes, or do you have to think about them for that to come to mind? Do you feel any discomfort in certain places? And just any other sensations that you feel going on internally. Now I want you to what we're going to call shuffle back and forth but not so much that now you're going to be more aware of the outside again, but now yourself in relation, your internal self in relation to outside. So even if you keep your eyes still closed, but you could notice what you feel your clothes touching your body. Do you feel your watch or any jewelry? Do you feel the pressure of you sitting in the seat? So kind of connecting what you feel in your body sensations matching with the external environment. Do you feel your feet on the floor? Do you feel like your feet are pushing down? Is the floor pushing up? So kind of that relation of back and forth. And then just kind of when you're ready, that's just one that's body awareness. It's something you can do several times a day. You can literally just do it in the middle of a meeting, you know. You can do it at those times where maybe you don't think you have time, driving in a car. You could still turn off the music and first notice everything around you externally. Don't close your eyes, obviously, if you're driving. But you could still notice, you know, if you're driving, am I cool right now? Is the wind blowing in my face if my window's down? Those kinds of things. And then just relating, you know, how your foot's feeling on the gas pedal. So kind of that back and forth. And really it's just a way to, it's kind of, we're stopping. You're stopping even when you have to keep going. Which isn't that kind of what creates our stress, is that we're just always having to keep going. So that's a simple one that I liked because, like I said, you can kind of do it even when you have to somewhat keep going. But it still kind of has those positive effects. All right, so I know that we didn't notice your breathing. You might have noticed your breathing on that one, but it's not something that we focused on. And so this is one where, before I actually want you to focus on your breathing, but even though I said that, I feel like that's what you're going to do. But we're just going to observe your breathing. Of course, we know that breathing oxygenates your blood. And it has all these great things that it does for us physiologically, but to release our tension and make us feel better even by relaxing. But at first, just notice, maybe on a scale of 1 to 10 right now, how deep is your breathing? Without trying to change it and make it a certain, just observe what it is as you've been sitting here listening on a scale of how deep you feel like you're able to breathe, 10 being the deepest. Does anyone want to share what they thought their level was?
I was about between a 4 and a 5.
Between a 4 and a 5. Okay. All right, so now we'll just do a little bit more deep breathing. And without getting too technical, because like I said, I wanted to give you guys small snippets of things to do that aren't the real technical ones, or maybe when you don't have time to really lay down and do a whole lot. But just, of course, get comfortable if you're needing to scoot back your chair back a little, move your feet, do whatever you need to do to get where you can kind of breathe in the best that you can and make it a little bit deeper breath than maybe what you were just observing. And, diaphragmatically, I had to practice that word earlier, diaphragmatically breathe in so that you really are, you're breathing in deep. And then when you go to exhale, really kind of maybe as you breathe in, you're thinking breathe in. And then as you exhale, relax. And one of the tapes I recently was listening to, it really was talking about, when we're going through the world, we're really having to take everything in. And if you've ever been startled, somebody opens the door and you're not expecting it, what do? You take in. So we're always taking everything in. And even when someone's, nervous, they're taking things in, but we have to remember to really let it out as well. So as you're exhaling, really say, to your mind, relax. And if there are thoughts that come to you, your to-do list, where you have to be in an hour, just tell yourself you're releasing that as well. So, and then the third thing before we do it for a minute or two is just to remember to pause in between. So you do the inhale, the exhale, but then pause for a second and just wait on your natural breath, so that it's not kind of you doing it, that it goes back to that normal natural rhythm. Newborn babies and sleeping adults, this is kind of what happens when you're sleeping and you really are rested. It's this very diaphragmatically inhaling, exhaling, and then your body just naturally will kind of do it itself. It's not something, obviously, while you're sleeping, you're telling yourself, okay, breathe in again. So just kind of let, you know, it might take another second or two than what you were thinking if you're trying to focus yourself on it. So just breathe in deep. Exhale, relax. Breathe on your natural breath. I'll just let you do that for a minute and see what that rhythm is for you. As you do that, another thing you might do is be saying in as you inhale, out as you exhale. 1, inhale. 2, exhale. All right, I'll give you a chance for maybe one more cycle of that. And I noticed for me, when I was doing that, my pause actually ended up being a lot longer than I thought. When I actually just paused and waited for it to come. I thought it would just be a second or two, but it was actually more like 8 or 9. Anybody else notice something about that pause? Stay relaxed. I also want you guys to just think about, on a scale of 1 to 10 now, how deep do you think your breathing was compared to when we weren't really observing or focusing on it before? Hopefully it went up.
It was even just the first deep breath in made that, focus on the breathing. So then now it's like, wow, opened it up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Now that we're kind of there, you guys can keep breathing however you'd like, just remembering to take in and let out. Another one that I really liked that I've come across is an eye relaxation. Again, I really liked ones where it helped us remember our our awareness in relation to where we're at. And we're always, I think when we get tired, we're rubbing our eyes, and so I often see this when when you're in class, maybe we're dozing off and your eyes are just heavy, that heavy feeling when you're really exhausted. So I thought this was a good one to do. So you're going to go ahead and close your eyes. And just want you to notice as you close your eyes if you see color or the absence of color, or if that kind of darkness takes over. And then if you want, even if you do kind of feel like you see surrounding color, blocking out the light by putting one of your hands over your eyes. And then to take your hands and actually put if you don't have glasses on, or if you want to take those off, actually applying light pressure on your eyelids. And see if that changes the color that you see, kind of behind or the image. Did it make some kind of image happening as you put that light pressure? And if so, just kind of with that light pressure, try to focus now back on the color black if it went to something other or to a pattern. Even if you need to use a mental image of something black, an object or a piece of clothing you have, or turning your light out in your bedroom. So just do this for a minute or so. Just kind of think and focus on the black. And not so much pressure that you're feeling pressure anymore, but more that now you're just at that point that you're able to focus on the black. And now maybe as you're ready, just let off the pressure Have your hands on your eyelids. And then as you're ready to maybe visualize that black lifting to the color of the room, and you can do that and open your eyes. Just see if you notice kind of the relaxation that's happening and the tension in your eye muscles as you did that. I really like that one because I feel like it's another good way, we focus on breathing, but this was just another area where kind of connecting with tension in our bodies and our muscles and those kinds of things. So now this next one is about visualizing the tension in our body. So again, if you want, you can close your eyes and just visualize where you sense either tension in your body or even just something that you visualize that is tension. Maybe a tight rope that's being pulled in both directions. So you're seeing the tension of that rope in the middle. Maybe for you, tension is a sound. It's the sound of a jackhammer on a street. Maybe tension is a very bright light, the glare of a searchlight beaming down. So maybe visualize that tension either in your body where you sense it or an image. And then what we're going to do is we're going to try to feel that tension fade into relaxation. So we're going to take something like maybe the jackhammer on the street and that tension of the constant pulsing noise, and how would that softly flow into more of a sound of or the feeling of a massage kneading on your back muscles. So something that was hard and rigid and loud, turning into a rhythm that's still like a strong, soft kneading. Or maybe that glaring searchlight, bright light, fades ever so slowly into a rosy glow, a very dimly lit glow. Maybe the tension of a police siren whizzing by you turns into the soft whisper as it gets further and further away, into the sound of a soft flute in the background. And any tension that you feel in your body, sense in the same way that it lets go and flows into a free, relaxed muscle or state. And while you're still relaxed, and if you sense any tension, start concentrating on that tension. Maybe even intensify it a little bit. If you feel tension in your hands, maybe fist them up even tighter. If it's in your shoulders, start to squeeze them even more. If it's in your feet or your ankles, tighten those. And then even if it's your face muscles and kind of tightening those and your eyebrows, and it's going to get to where your breathing is going to kind of get less deep again. So now even if you're continuing to tighten all those places, maybe even your elbows start coming in, you can feel all the muscles tight in your shoulders, in your chest. Even hold your breath now. And now concentrate on tightening everything even a little bit more. And then once you can't hold your breath anymore, release everything. Let the muscles release. Let your breath release. See if that tension releases from all those areas. From your hands, from your feet. Now as you guys stay relaxed, we're going to add music to this, and we're going to do some guided imagery, so you can just keep your eyes closed if you want. Stay comfortable where you're at. We're going to add some music, and we're going to go float on a cloud for a couple of minutes.
Find a relaxed position. Lying down is best, and get comfortable. First, relax your body. Feel the relaxation grow with each breath you take. Begin to create a picture in your mind. Imagine that you're floating on a soft, fluffy white cloud. Notice how the cloud feels. It might be a little bit cool and moist, like fog. Your body is warm, very warm and heavy, sinking into the cloud. It is a wonderful feeling. You can choose to float wherever you like. The sky above you is bright, blue, sunny, and inviting. You're warm and comfortable, warmed by the sun's rays shining down peacefully. There are some other clouds in the sky, floating gently. See them lazily passing by, far above. Your cloud can float wherever you choose. If you enjoy being high up, you can let your cloud rise into the sky. It is very safe, very calming, very relaxing. You're so relaxed, floating on the cloud, supported gently but firmly by your cloud, surrounded by the cloud's protective embrace. See the sights around you as you're floating on the cloud. Imagine the green grass below, gently blowing in the wind. The grass recedes further away as you rise into the sky. From here, the grass looks like a soft carpet, the wind creating gentle waves in the grass as if it were water. What else do you see? Perhaps some trees, their leaves whispering in the gentle breeze. You can gaze down on housetops, country roads, hills. From this amazing vantage point, you can see around you 360 degrees. The horizon stretches out in a complete circle around you. Notice in the distance how the hills appear almost blue, slightly hazy. How does it feel to be floating on a cloud? Does it sway gently like a boat on almost smooth water? Does it drift in the breeze? Can you feel the movement as you gently float on the cloud? You feel so comfortable, so relaxed. Up here, the air is so clean. Look up at the beautiful sky. The clouds that were high above you are much closer now. The ground below you looks like a patchwork quilt. Green grass, golden fields, yellow, brown, blue patches of water, rivers and lakes. See the clouds around you. You're even able to look down on some clouds. See the shadows they make on the ground below. Can you see the shadow from your cloud? See how the shadow drifts silently across the ground below. Relax and luxuriate in this beautiful scene, floating on the cloud. You're so close now to another cloud above you that if you reach out, you can touch it. What would it feel like? You can rise even higher still and pass right through the clouds above. Feel the mist on your cheeks as you rise through the clouds. Around you, it is a glorious white, like fog. The sun shines through just enough that the white all around you glows vibrantly. You rise higher still, suddenly coming through the clouds and into the open, dazzling sunlight shining on your face. The sky above is brilliant blue. You can look down on the cloud you just passed and see the white, fluffy peaks and valleys of this cloud below. It looks like perfect snow. Looking around below you, it is as if you are in a land of snow. The sun shines brightly. Lay back on your cloud, floating, relaxing. Feel the cloud beneath you, still supporting you smoothly and comfortably. Imagine wherever it is you would like to go. Your cloud can take you there. Maybe you want to float above the mountains, drifting above their rocky peaks. Perhaps you would like to drift along the coast of the ocean, watching the waves crashing to shore. Maybe you would like to float through the city, drifting in and out among buildings and watching the cars below. You can travel anywhere you wish. You can look down on forests, the countryside, even your own home. Float wherever you like. Enjoy the sights around you. You're so relaxed, so peaceful. Now it is time to return to your day. Let your cloud lower you down, back toward the ground. Float back to where you were when you started this visualization. Let the cloud melt with the bed, chair, or whatever surface you're on. Feel the cloud slowly disappear as the real surface becomes more solid beneath you. Notice now your surroundings. Gradually come back to the present. Feel the surface beneath you. Hear the sounds around you. When you're ready, you can return to your day, feeling refreshed and alert after your journey floating on a cloud.
Everybody out of the clouds yet? Hopefully you feel better than when you walked in. I had one more that I wanted to touch on today when we had this presentation, and that's laughter. I thought once I got you nice and relaxed, before I send you back out there to anything that you have going on today or this evening, we could end with some laughter, and just remembering that too, that's another one, kind of an insulating factor to have. It's a good part of your stress management. I know for me, getting Julie's emails, she always has a way that she's able to put those fun little snippets in there. And it always happens to be when I'm like, oh yeah, I need to do the academic indicator or whatever, and then I read something and it's that moment where it stops me, whatever her email might say, and it's like, and then I'm thinking, where does she come up with this? So I liked this one. If you can't make it better, you can laugh at it. And just sometimes even remembering that if there's things stressing us out and overwhelming us, what is that way that maybe we could look at the situation from a humorous standpoint? So I did have one clip to do for that, because there's nothing like the sound of laughter that's contagious. So.
This one, Micah. Look at this one.
I thought this was just a fun, here we are talking about stress management and doing, actual things to help negate it, but this is kind of what we sometimes think of, right? That's our go-to, just bang our head here. So I thought that was cute. And I kind of like this, kind of bringing it back, full circle, that we really do have an effective weapon, laughter, these skills that we can use, putting it all in perspective. And just remembering that it was real or perceived. So what we just did, floating on a cloud, we didn't really go float on a cloud, but it's just as effective. So sometimes if we're thinking that we're stressed out, we're making our body even feel that more so than the stress that is happening. And so it's just, if we can do those perceptions in our mind, even for those moments, then that helps. So that's all I have, unless we can get the video going. I hope hope that you all do feel like you've got some useful little tools to put in your back pocket and whip out when you're thinking, I'm stressed, what do I do? That there's one or two things that you can remember to focus on your breathing, visualize something, muscle relaxation.